Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to Mindfulness for Families. I'm Jody Diaz, and I'm going to be the moderator for this session today. As the ladies go ahead through their presentation, if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to make, please put them in the chat. Also in the chat box, Mary Palacios will be putting in the Spanish translation, and I'm going to let her, she's already typing in there. So you can read along in the chat what's being displayed and spoken about. And again, any questions, just type them in the chat, and either some of the presenters will respond to you in real time, or at the end, we'll have time for questions and answers for the group. So today we have presenting Mindfulness for Families. We have four school counselors from Palm Springs Unified School District this morning. We have Stephanie Magnera, Paula Henry, LaShonda Tillman, and Haydee Ramirez. And woo, look at that. School counselors rock. All right, you beautiful presenters. On that note, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over and sit back and enjoy, and let's absorb all of their wisdom. Take it away.
All right, so welcome. All right, so what are we going to be covering today? We just want to give you an overview. So we're going to go over SEL, what it is, and why do we teach it in schools, stress in the brain, how big emotions affect our brain, mindfulness, the benefits of practicing daily, and we're going to give you different strategies to use. So breathing exercises, tapping, grounding, gratitude, and restorative practices. So just to get us started, wanted to show you real quick a quick feelings check-in. We do this a lot with our students in the classroom. Usually it's a little more simplified version, just like a happy, sad, maybe 5 different emotions. But this one is a little bit more complex, because as adults, we are a lot more complex. So if you see at the bottom, it's low pleasantness on the left and all the way to high pleasantness on the right. And then vertically up and down, we have low energy on the bottom and high energy on the top. So you can see lots of different emotions. So if you kind of see where you are with the pleasantness and energy, it'll get you to a color, and then you can find an emotion. So with that, we just start with this. If you want to put in the chat an emotion that you're seeing, this screen right here is in English. I have another screen in Spanish, so we'll give it a second on this one, and then I could switch over to the other one. So if you see an emotion that you're feeling, you could type it in the chat. And then let's see. Let me switch over to the Spanish screen so you can see that real quick too. This one isn't as colorful. There wasn't a version that was in Spanish that I could find on the internet, so I did a quick Google Translate. So I see someone says easygoing, nervous, optimistic, nervous but excited. All right, so again, this is something that we do often in our classrooms, helping students just check in with their feelings to see where they're at for the day. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Stephanie to talk about what SEL is.
Thank you so much, Paula. Yeah, so we wanted to start with kind of the umbrella of what we teach. So SEL is social emotional learning. It's something, luckily, that is valued now in schools more so than ever. I think they are starting to see the value of teaching this directly to the students in the school setting, and how it helps them in their academics and in their personal lives. So it's just a really awesome thing. So I'm gonna, if you can click to that next screen, Paula, thank you. So what is it? It says CASEL, Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. It defines social and emotional learning, SEL, as an integral part of education and human development. SEL is the process through which all young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge, skills, and attitudes to develop healthy identities, manage emotions, and achieve personal and collective goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain supportive relationships, and make responsible and caring decisions. So you'll see on the graphic on the right, what we're teaching in the classrooms is helping students with self-awareness, Like, how are they feeling? Can they identify it? Self-management, can they manage these emotions in themselves, and impulse control and all of those important things? And then you get into the social awareness and the relationship skills. How do they get along with others? Are they aware of others' feelings? The whole idea of empathy. And then, of course, responsible decision making. So really important stuff. And thank you so much. So we do teach what's called second step. We use curriculum called second step. And at my school site, our teachers actually are teaching these lessons in the classroom. And they cover all of those topics I just talked about. But they do have a good video of just like an overview of what SEL is, just so you understand what it is and why does it matter? Why are we teaching this during our school day? Take a look.
There's a lot of talk these days about SEL, social emotional learning. But what exactly is it? Social emotional learning is the process of learning social and emotional skills, and it's just as important as learning reading or math. This learning process is most effective when it begins early and continues through high school. Social emotional skills are essential for success in school, work, and life. With SEL, students learn to manage their own emotions and behaviors, have empathy and show care and concern for others, solve problems effectively, make responsible decisions, and maintain healthy relationships. Students learn to recognize what's happening inside them and to be aware of their emotions, which helps them deal with strong emotions and impulsive behaviors. It helps them stop, take a breath, and think about a situation before acting. Students learn to identify others' emotions and perspectives, which helps them empathize and show compassion, no matter who they are or what their background is. It's not difficult to imagine how this is important in the classroom and in life. Students learn to solve problems in peaceful ways and communicate assertively about what they need or want. This helps them get along with other students and get the help they need from adults. When students learn to make responsible decisions about their lives and their future, things can turn out better. Research shows social emotional learning makes a difference. Students who participate in SEL do better academically, have improved attitudes and behaviors, and act in delinquent or disruptive ways less often. In the United States, students with strong social-emotional competence are twice as likely to earn a college degree and nearly 50% more likely to graduate from high school and have a full-time job by age 25. Just as important, students who are socially and emotionally competent have more friends. This means they're more likely to feel connected to school and do well, and less likely to be left out or bullied. Simply put, by participating in social-emotional learning, students learn the skills to succeed in every facet of school and the rest of their lives.
Okay, so just a nice overview of what it is and why we teach and why it's so important. And it's important for all of us, right, to have these skills. And sometimes kids are coming in lacking some of them. So we just need to fill in gaps where we need to. And one of our, and that's why we're leading into mindfulness. Mindfulness is something we teach under the SEL umbrella. So we are going to start with the brain. I think it's important to understand stress and the brain, and then you'll have a better understanding of how mindfulness can be an amazing strategy for you to use and to teach your kiddos. So stress, just an overview. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, stress is the brain and body's response to change, challenge, or demand. It is the body's natural defense against danger brought on by an event or a thought that makes you feel frustrated or angry or nervous. And when a stressful event occurs, the body is flooded with hormones to avoid or confront danger. And this is commonly referred as that fight or flight response. And, we are feeling stress. I think that's a given and more stress than I can remember feeling in a long time, just with things going on around us. And our kids are feeling that very much. And so I like to start with teaching them about their brain and how stress affects their brain, because first of all, they love learning about their brain. They're very interested in it, but it helps them understand that it's a natural thing that is going on. And if they understand their brain, then they could just have a better control over what is happening. They just know what, some strategies they can use to calm themselves down. So if you can go to that next one, thank you. So these are images I actually show my students. The one on the right, especially, I kind of like the how realistic it looks. And but I really break it down for them. I give parts of the brain nicknames. I teach them a little something. I'm going to teach you using their hand, like a hand model. So when I teach them about their brain, we focus in on 3 parts that have to do with where we're thinking and where our feelings are coming from. And so you'll see the blue portion there on the right. It's called the prefrontal cortex. So I'll throw out that real name of the brain, but then I say, let's call it the PFC. And then I give it a nickname like I might call it the wise owl. Or Yoda, sometimes I use that. So just depending on the age or, who I have in front of me. So that is the part of the brain that helps us think. It helps us connect to people. It's the part of the brain we want working or in charge the majority of the time, right? That's the part that helps us problem solve and make smart choices. And then I talk about, so when I'm doing the hand model, the fingers are my prefrontal cortex, my PFC, my wise owl. And then we open it up and we talk about this part of our hand is the hippocampus, right? That part of the brain that has kind of that crescent green portion. I always say it's kind of in the back of our ears. And the hippocampuses are, as you can see in the other graphic, the librarian. I might call it the memory saver. I might put up images of Inside Out with those characters talking about that's where our memories are, right? This is the part of the brain that keeps our memories. And then I talk about the thumb. So the little almond-shaped pink little pieces in the back there, that's the amygdala. So the amygdala, I have called it the security guard, might call it the guard dog. So this is a really amazing part of our brain that helps us, that keeps us safe, really. But it just unfortunately sometimes overreacts or thinks we're in danger when we're really not, because of a stress or a strong emotion. And what will happen with the amygdala is it basically shuts down. So let's say this is our brain. So the PFC, the hippocampus, and our amygdala. So when we stress out, we have a big emotion, we might flip our lid. I call it flipping our lid. And now our amygdala is in charge, okay? We don't want the amygdala in charge, because what the amygdala is going to do is going to make us either fight or freeze, or they call it flight, right? So run, hide, fight, without thinking, because our prefrontal cortex is now shut down. It's no longer in charge because the amygdala is like, what's going on? Are we in danger? Is there a lion? I always talk about if we're in the jungle and there's a lion, that's an amazing piece of our brain, because we don't have time to think. We got to have some action. We're running, we're fighting, we're surviving. But when we're at school and we are stressed about a test, let's say, and that we end up flipping our lid because we're so stressed out, then we're not thinking straight. We're making possibly a choice that could get us in trouble. And so we have to learn, how do we calm this brain down so that we can get that prefrontal cortex in charge again, the smart one. I might say the amygdala is the guard dog. So when it starts barking, the wise owl flies away, my prefrontal cortex flies away, and my memory saver can't hear, right? So how do we get our PFC back so that it's able to think? So that's where mindfulness is super effective and important. We have to learn how to breathe or whatever other techniques to get us back into the present so that we are able to use that part of our brain again. Okay. Thanks, Paula. You can go to the next one. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and now we're going to get into mindfulness and all these amazing things that it brings. So I'm going to pass it over to LaShonda.
Thanks, Stephanie. So talking about mindfulness and what it actually means and why it's so important to teach it to our students, and we do it all the time as school counselors, teaching them how to self-regulate is super important. And we do that through mindfulness. So what is mindfulness? And when you hear that term, you might think of some of the common strategies such as yoga or meditation, but it's so much more than that. So we wanted to actually present this and show you all the different types of strategies and different ways that we can teach mindfulness to our students. So here's the definition of mindfulness, and then we'll get into some actual strategies. So mindfulness is the basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing, and not overreactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. So just being in the moment, thinking about what's actually happening at that current moment, what's really in front of you. And in the bottom of the slide, it shows you a picture of two individuals. One, the taller individual, has so much going on, and it could be a parent or a student, and just the bubble of all the things that they're thinking about or going through. For students, it could be a test that's coming up, or presentation, some drama with friends. Parents could be thinking about morning activities or after school activities, work stressors, anything that's going on in their particular life, versus teaching students how to just distract from those things that are going on and just being present with what's going on at that current moment. So going from a mindful of everything that's going on to a mindful experience where you're only focusing on what's going on in that current moment. All right. And go ahead, Paula, to the next slide. Thank you. And mindfulness, it's very important to students in the school, and research shows and supports the use of mindfulness and the reason why we use it in schools. So there's 6 different research supports that we have on the slide. The first thing that mindfulness does for our kiddos in our school sites, it helps with mental health. It helps with teaching students resilience. So it helps reduce anxiety, problematic stress. It helps teach kids appropriate coping skills and helps teach resiliency. It also helps with the overall picture and the overall teaching of social emotional skills. So it teaches students how to self-regulate, how to have appropriate social skills. It reduces problem behaviors in the classroom and on school campuses. And it teaches students how to be it actually helps with disciplinary actions and referrals, such as bullying and hostility in the school sites. Physical health, it improves that because we're teaching students how to actively be physical, as well as it teaching flexibility and balance and strength. At my particular site, the classes that are practicing mindfulness on a regular basis shows a climate of respect and just a calm environment. So it cultivates positive climates for fostering beneficial mental health and social emotional abilities. Then the last row at the bottom talks about academic performance. It helps increase academic performance, and it supports students academically by improving grades, improving test scores, helping with dropout prevention, and just overall GPA improvements. And then the last one is teacher well-being. Teachers that are practicing mindfulness in their classrooms have a better mindset for themselves, and it decreases teacher burnout. So we also recommend that teachers also explore mindfulness alongside with the students. All right. And then Palm Springs has incorporated a program called Inner Explorer. It's an online platform the district has purchased for all teachers, and as well as community members and families as well. But teachers are encouraged to implement it in their classrooms on a daily basis. At my particular site, teachers use it as a transition from activities or prep. So coming in the morning, some teachers use it first thing in the morning. Some teachers use it coming back from music or recess or PE. Some teachers use it just coming back in from lunch. So it's really up to teachers when they use this particular program, but it's just a program that helps teachers implement mindfulness into their classroom. It's a platform where there's short videos where students can actually have a mindful experience, and teachers, all they have to do is log on to the program, click play, and then there's a 5 to 10 minute video where teachers actually play the video and students actually participate in the mindful experience. It's really cool to see the teachers actually doing it right alongside the students. So it's something that we encourage our students and our teachers to participate in daily. So what we wanted to do now is actually show you an example of a video that one of the younger classrooms would be doing, and it would be teaching students how to do a belly breath or belly breathing. So we're going to show the video. You can feel free to practice alongside Jake, who's going to be doing it, or just watch and see what students would see in the classroom.
Hi, my friends. This is Jake. Today, we're going to explore belly breathing. Let's begin by breathing softly. Breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. Let's get ready by closing your eyes, sitting up tall with your shoulders back a little, and letting your legs and arms rest right where they are, noticing how it feels to be sitting today. Now, putting your hand on your belly, and as you breathe, noticing if your belly moves. As you take a big, deep breath in, imagining that belly is like a balloon, and it's getting filled with air. As you breathe out, the air goes out of the balloon and your belly gets smaller. Again, as you breathe in, your belly gets really big. As you breathe out, your belly gets smaller. When you practice belly breathing, you calm yourselves down and maybe even feel better. As you take another slow breath in and out, opening your eyes and singing the exploring song together.
Thanks, Paula, for sharing that. So Inner Explorer is a program that all school sites have access to, and it's also available for family and community members. And if it's something that you're interested in, I recommend reaching out to one of the school counselors at your particular school site, where they can give you access and information about getting that program at home. And with that, Paula is going to introduce us to some additional strategies that we implement in the classrooms in the school in regards to mindfulness.
All right, so I wanted to talk a little bit more about breathing exercises, why they're so important. So why breathing? So breath practices may help you become more in touch with your mind, body, and spirit. And there's a lot of benefits from it, like releasing negative energy, reducing muscle tension and other physical ailments, increasing alertness and oxygen flow. It helps regulate your blood pressure. It allows your body to release toxins. It helps the automatic nervous system, which helps regulate body functions like your temperature and your bladder. And it may ease symptoms of stress-related disorders, as well as mental health conditions like anxiety, general stress, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. It allows for a better emotional control overall, and it also has been shown to maybe improve your immune system. So simply breathe. So breathing is a powerful tool. It helps ease stress, and it also helps relieve and lessen your anxiety. These exercises are more beneficial, however, if you do them on a daily basis. So making a part of your daily routine is where you're really going to see the benefits. You can do them as you need them, which is helpful. But if you're doing them on a daily basis, you'll see overall you feel a little calmer. So before you get started, keep these things in mind. So it's best to have a quiet place to do this, as quiet as you can manage in your wherever you're doing it. Keep it's a practice. So remind yourself that it doesn't have to be perfect every time, and make it a habit by again doing it on a daily basis. And it's good to pick the same time of day to do it. So again, it becomes a habit. And the good news is that these exercises are really short, so you can work them into your busy schedule. So the first one I wanted to show you is one that I do in the classroom a lot. It's called 5-finger breathing, or sometimes it's called take 5 breathing. So all you really need is your hand to do it. So no special equipment's required. So what you do is you trace your hand. So you put one hand up and you trace your other hand trace your hand with your other hand. So as you come up, you're going to breathe in through your nose. And as you come out, you're going to breathe out through your mouth. So, so we'll do it together. So you just put your hand up, like I said, and you breathe in through your nose and then out and then in 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 and then out. So it's a really easy one to teach kids, like I said, because it's something that they have all the time. I always tell them, can you forget your hands at home? No, of course you can't, because they're attached to you always. So it's something that they can do at any time. And it's good because their hands are a little smaller, so they're taking a little shorter breaths as well. So that's the take 5 breathing, again, something I teach in the classrooms a lot. And then another one is the 4-7-8 breathing. This one, you don't have to have hands. And this one is a little bit more of like a secret breath, because nobody knows you're doing it, versus the take 5 when people can see that you have your hand up. So this one you can kind of do more on your own with nobody really knowing what's going on. So this one, you would breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds. You would hold your breath for 7, and then you breathe out through your mouth for 8. And then you would do it as many times as you need it. Usually 3 to 5 times is usually enough, but if you need it for longer, you could always do it for longer. So it's really hard to do it as you're breathing and counting. So I'm just going to count for people. So I'm going to start in a second. So again, you're breathing in through your nose, holding your breath, and then breathing out for 8. So I'm going to start counting now. So breathe in for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you hold it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you're breathing out through your mouth for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the trick with this breath is the breathing out slower. That's what helps calm you down a little bit more. And again, it's one that you can do as many times as you need. And again, it's one that we encourage students to do, if they're getting ready for a test, if they're having a stressful moment, because again, it's a little bit more secret. Nobody really knows that you're doing it. So if if they get embarrassed or something like that, nobody's going to know that they're doing it. All right. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is tapping. So this is something that is a little bit more than the breathing, because it incorporates some movement as well as saying things like statements. So I'm just going to show you real quick why. How does it work? So focus on negative emotions at hand. So it focuses on fear, anxiety, a bad memory, an unresolved problem, or anything that's bothering you. So it's targeting that to help us let go of it. So while we're focusing on that, we maintain the focus on that issue, but then we use our fingertips to tap 9 different points on their body that are called meridian points. And tapping on these points while you're concentrating and accepting and resolving the negative emotion, it will access your body's energy and restoring it to a balanced state. So kind of focusing on that negative thing helps you let go of it. So here's the different tapping points. There's 9 different ones, like I said. Starting with right here, the karate chop point. The kids like that it's called that. And then you go throughout your body. So I have a video that I'm going to show you that shows you all this, the basics of it. So let me go to that video now. So tapping, again, gives you the power to heal yourself. It puts the control back to you over your destiny back into your hands. So again, it helps you, again, focus on that negative thing for the moment to help you let go of it more long term. So here's the video to just tell you again a little bit about what it is.
Welcome to the tappingsolution.com. This is Jessica Ortner, and welcome to our How to Tap area. Here we'll provide all the information to help you get started right away to use this incredible stress relief technique that will really benefit your mind and your body. Now in this video, I'm going to show you where the tapping points are so you can get a visual. The first point is the side of the hand, and it's the karate chop point. So tap on that fleshy part. The next point is the eyebrow point, and it doesn't matter which side of the body you tap on. Just pick a side and tap where the beginning of your eyebrow begins, right on that hair. I hope you're tapping along with me. You're going to follow that bone until you're on the side of the eye, staying on that bone. Then underneath the eye, again, staying on that bone. Underneath the nose. The chin point, which is actually the crease between your lip and your chin. Your collarbone point. I like to just take my whole hand and tap where a man's bow tie would lie, and you'll stimulate the point. Then underneath the arm, about a hand width from your armpit. Then you end with the top of the head. Those are the 9 points in this tapping algorithm, and that is 1 round. So what you do is you begin by saying the setup statement. The setup statement is, even though I have this problem, so even though I have this anxiety, even though I have this headache, I love and accept myself, or simply, I accept myself. A lot of people feel resistant to this. They say, why would I ever say I accept something that I want to get rid of? Well, it's our inability to accept a feeling that usually keeps it stuck in place. By saying the setup statement, it sets us up for the rest of the process, helps neutralize any judgment we have around the problem. So you say the setup statement 3 times. Then you tap on the rest of the acupressure points while simply saying how you feel. It's not about the fancy language. It's about being honest with how you're feeling, bringing that up in your body and tapping on that acupressure, on these acupressure points. Again, sending that calming signal to the brain, letting your brain know that even with this thought, you are safe and it's okay to relax. So let me give you an example of what one tapping round may look like. If you are stressed around, say, a deadline, you would tap and say, even though I feel so stressed around this deadline, I love and accept myself. Even though I feel stressed around this deadline, I accept myself. Even though I feel stress around this deadline, I love and accept myself. Whatever variation of the setup statement you'd like to use is perfect. Then we're going to tap on the rest of the points just while we vent. So it would go something like this. The stress around this deadline. Side of the eye, I have too much to do. Under the eye, it's too much for one person. Under the nose, all this pressure that I feel. Chin, this pressure I feel to do it perfectly. Collarbone, this pressure around this deadline. Under the arm, all this pressure around this deadline. Top of the head, all of this pressure. It's as simple as trusting your intuition and really just giving a voice to the tape you're already playing in your head. You might already be having that panicked conversation. Now have that conversation with yourself while stimulating the points to really see a difference. You'll get to the point where you can say these things, you can think these thoughts without having the tension, the physical response. And that is where the real change happens. Well, I hope that is enough to help you get started. Continue reading here to get more information, and welcome to thetappingsolution.com.
All right, so again, that's just a little intro video to give you an idea of where the tapping points are. And again, a statement that you would say to yourself to help yourself let go again of those negative thoughts or those negative feelings. And as she said, the more you do it, the more it's going to become natural for you to kind of be able to just let go of that stuff on your own. I included a video.
Welcome to the Tapping Solution.
I included a video showing her walking it through with the kids, kind of a statement that she would have for the kids. And I like in there, she said that, you know, even though I'm having a tough time, I'm still a good kid. So it's, you know, again, sending them positive messages. We're not going to play this video because it's about 6 minutes long, but it's there in case you want to, as we share this PowerPoint for you, if you want to look at it later. And so I'm going to hand it over to Haydee to talk about grounding.
Hello, thank you, Paula. Yes, and we're going to continue with strategies to help you help your kiddos to stay grounded. And it's just one more strategy to help you not only for your kiddos, but for yourself as adults as well. So grounding is a self-soothing skill that when you're having a bad day, maybe dealing with a lot of stress, or you're overwhelmed with feelings or feeling anxious, it will help you help the brain, distract the brain actually, to help you calm down. So grounding is also called earthing. It's a therapeutic technique that involves doing activities that ground or reconnect you to the earth. This practice relies on earthing science and grounding physics to explain how electrical charges from the earth can have positive effects on your body. Okay, and so you can go ahead and move on. There's a lot of benefits, like I said, when you are feeling overwhelmed with emotions, or your kiddos are, you're feeling anxious. But in addition to helping you help your kiddos calm down, or yourself calm down, it has a lot of benefits, okay, such as improvement of chronic fatigue, chronic pain, anxiety and depression, sleep disorders, and cardiovascular disease. And some of the visuals that we use for our kiddos are something like you see here. And we ask them to describe 5 things that they see. So if a student is sent to my office because they're having a hard time with strong feelings, they're feeling stressed about something, overwhelmed, either something happening at school or at home. It depends if the student wants to stay in my classroom or my office or go for a walk. I ask them to point out 5 things that you see. Okay, so the student turns around and looks and describes or tells me about 5 things that they see. And then we move on to 4 things that you feel. What are you feeling right now? You know, it could be, the hat on your head. It could be the chair you're sitting on. It could be the shirt that you're wearing, anything that you feel. Sometimes we even say, well, I'm still feeling, very upset right now, right? And then we move on to 3 things that you hear. What do you hear right now? What are you hearing? And it could be something as much as, my heartbeat. I've had students say, I can hear it, well, I hear you speaking to me, Miss R. And then we move on to 2 things that you smell, and then 1 thing that you taste. And it could be a memory as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the moment. And as you can see, these techniques to help self-regulate are techniques that you can use with your kiddos, your students, but with yourself as well, and any member that you live with at home, all right? And these are just some other variations that we can provide for the kiddos so that they have a visual. Now, self-grounding, the main objective is to help the kiddos distract the brain. Stephanie talked about the different parts of the brain that are, working at the moment when they're feeling those strong emotions. And so we want to distract the brain. And so say you have your kiddo that's in the car and they're having some sort of a meltdown because something happened at school or something's going on at home and they're not getting their way. As you're driving, you can ask and say, hey, let's talk about some of the things that you see while you were driving around. Okay, so even if you don't have these visuals in front of you, you can definitely use this strategy at any time, anywhere. And if you don't remember, like, what was it, 5 things they see or they hear, it's the 5 senses, right? So it doesn't really matter. You don't have to use them in this order. It's the 5 senses, something that you touch, something that you see, something that you smell, something that you hear. Okay, so this is one of my favorite strategies to use with the kiddos. Okay, and moving on to gratitude. Gratitude is also something very, very powerful to use. And not only does it help with, showing appreciation for what we have and what we don't have, but it's also, I strongly believe, helps in the healing of our emotions and what we've gone through. And what it is technically is the expression of appreciation for what one has. And I always tell the kiddos too, we need to appreciate what we don't have as well. We may not have it. And so understanding what we don't have helps us appreciate what we do have. And appreciating what we have is not depending on any monetary worth. Okay. So we're not necessarily talking about money or things. You know, if we have time that we're spending with our loved ones, if we had time to go outside and play and whatnot. Okay. Affirmations of goodness and warmth. This social emotional strengthens relationships, and its roots run deep in evolutionary history, emanating from the survival, value of helping others and being helped in return. Studies show that specific areas of the brain are involved in experiencing and expressing gratitude. So gratitude helps shift when we work with students and we ask them to see and talk about things that they have and that they're grateful for, moments that they're grateful for. It helps shift the negative emotion that they may be having, and it turns it away from expressing themselves in a negative manner and thinking deeply about negative thoughts. And this is what happens when students or individuals begin to have stronger feelings of depression, and practicing gratitude and what they are grateful for. It helps, like I said, turn away from the negative feelings and expressing oneself, begin to express oneself in a positive manner. And so, for example, when I'm working with the kiddos, I tell them, think of things that make you happy. And I give them the example. When I'm going into a grocery store, somebody helps me and they may, hold the door open for me. That makes me very, very happy. I'm very grateful because that person stopped what they were doing for me. And that just gives me a sense of like great gratitude, like appreciation. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel so much joy when I feel appreciated and validated. And gratitude helps bring those emotions on. And so when I do speak to the kids, I sometimes give them that task. Hey, when you go home, do something for someone and let's talk about it the next day. Like, how did that make you feel? When you go to the store, if you see that somebody dropped something, help them pick it up. And how did that make that person feel? And in return, how did it make you feel? Okay, and moving on. And then these are just some ideas, some great ideas of how you can practice gratitude with your kiddos and yourself as well. If you're trying to practice gratitude, keeping a gratitude journal, and we do that sometime around November. I don't know, I'm not sure about the other counselors, keeping that theme of Thanksgiving, being thankful. Writing things down is also a very powerful strategy in itself. It's that brain thought that goes down your hand and onto paper, it's releasing it. And so that is a strategy. Remembering the bad. So remembering how things were difficult at one point and how you pushed through and got through them, and appreciating that you had that opportunity and maybe grow from it. Questions like, what have I received from, what have I given to, sharing your gratitude with others, using visual reminders, maybe 2 obstacles, 2 challenges that you're grateful for. Like I said, sometimes the obstacles and challenges help us grow. And so then we need to remember those obstacles and challenges so that we're feeling grateful for those opportunities to grow. Okay. And I'm not going to go all over them, but they'll be here for you in this slide. And moving on to restorative practices, I strongly believe restorative practices and conversations are a very powerful way to heal relationships. It's a wonderful strategy that I've been working on a lot at my school site. And I'm going to go into what it is briefly, but it's been very, very rewarding to have students as young as second grade come to me and ask if I could have a restorative conversation with them and another student that they had a conflict with, to talk about what happened from their perspective, how it had affected them, and what can be done to move forward to mend that broken relationship. And so what are restorative practices? It gives the opportunity to restore and mend harm done and gives voice to everyone who participates in the process. It gives the individual the opportunity to have their feelings validated and heard. The purpose is to check in with each other and build a sense of community, and each person will have an opportunity to share without being interrupted. And so restorative practices or circles is a technique that helps build and restore relationships when feelings have been hurt. Okay, it helps those who participate in the process feel validated, feel heard, feel accepted. They have a sense of belonging. Okay, and quality of being fair and impartial. Okay, it has the quality of being fair and impartial. And when I work with the students, there's agreements. There's 4 agreements, and that very first one is confidentiality. So the students know that what is said, the expectation is that what is said in that moment in that classroom with me and those students, the expectation is that none of the students go outside of that safe space and share. So they are not to go to their friends and say, oh, this is what we talked about, and so said this. Okay. And to this day, I have not had any problems come up where students go and speak about it. I'm not saying they don't, but it's done in a manner where kids just feel so safe themselves sharing that they're able to have that empathy for the other students and keep that confidentiality. Okay. And then we have a talking piece. It can be an item from my office, and whoever is holding that talking piece is the only person that is allowed to speak. The rest of us have to sit in silence. Even if we don't necessarily agree with what they're sharing in the moment, we have to wait for our turn to speak from our perspective. Okay. And listen, I said 4 agreements, there's 3, sorry. And the last one is listen and talk from the heart. I tell the kiddos that when we listen from the heart, we are listening with an open heart, open-minded. And when we speak from the heart, we are going to be able to speak truthfully. And when the truth comes out in regards to how we felt, why maybe we acted or said what we did, acted in the way that we did or said what we did, when we're being truthful and honest, is that the healing process begins to happen. Okay. And so we have a restorative conversation or circle with students when one of the 2 positive affects. So there's 9 affects. And when 2 of the positive affects are interrupted, okay, is when we go into the compass of shame. And Dr. Malik Muhammad did mention and talk briefly about the compass of shame. And so when everything's fine, we're okay, we're happy, we're excited, we're interested about something, everything's well, the way it looks for students, it may be something into the classroom and they're happy and instruction is going well, or they're outside at recess and they're playing basketball or on the swings. And then a neutral or surprise, the element of surprise interrupts that joy, interrupts that the being content. If I'm happy, I'm okay, something interrupts it. Okay, maybe a student made a mean comment. Maybe the student hit another student while playing soccer. Okay. And so then we immediately go into the compass of shame or distress or disgust or fear or anger. Okay. We're upset. So it's when our joy is interrupted that we have the negative feelings or emotions. And it's not just with the students, it's with us as human beings as well as adults, right? At work or at home with our partners, our spouse. Maybe they said something and we're, feeling we're having a great time getting home, cooking dinner, doing those chores in the evening, and they say something that interrupts our joy. And then we go into compass of shame. And then are we just staying quiet? Are we withdrawn, or are we going to react and disrespect as well, or make a mean comment? And so when that happens, I sit down, and this is restorative practices. I can go on for hours, but this is just a brief introduction. When we begin to have those restorative conferences or conversations with the kiddos, this is what we ask, okay? And if you, for some reason, cannot get a hold of these slides, if you ever just Google restorative questions, restorative practices, these questions will come up. And so then I sit the students down, we go over our expectations, confidentiality, speaking and listening from the heart, right? And we respect the talking piece. Whoever is holding the talking piece is the one who is able to speak in the moment. So when things go wrong, okay, sometimes if I know the kiddos and I think someone isn't maybe going to be willing to start, I will say, okay, I'm going to start with the person on the right because I'm right-handed, or if I know a student is just very eager to start their conversation and speak from what happened from their perspective, then I ask, who would like to start? Okay. And so then we ask, one student starts, and I ask, hey, what happened? From your perspective, what happened? What happened at recess that upset you? At home with your children, what happened? If you have more than one child and your children are arguing constantly, fighting. Okay, sit them down. What happened? What happened from your perspective? Let that person speak. What were you thinking at that time? How did it make you feel? What have you thought about it since? And of course, you allow time for them to respond. Okay. And what do you think? This is a very powerful question as well. What do you think you need to do to make things right? What can we do to move forward from this? And then we move on to the next person and they answer those questions. Okay. They answer those questions. And you as the adult, you facilitate, and how did it make you feel when your sister took that from you or, destroyed your Lego creation, and we talk about that, differently at school, obviously. Okay, how did it make you feel when you were still holding the ball and he took it away from you? And then we go into another strategy within the restorative practices, and those are the I statements. Again, if you just Google those I statements, if you can't get a hold of these slides, they will pop up, and they're just a very powerful resource. And so I tell students, I feel very proud of you when I see you're following expectations out at recess, because I think that you value when you and I work together on these strategies, and I see you using them. Okay, so that is the one way that I can, talk to the kiddos, and I encourage, we've communicated with teachers and have them talk to the kiddos this way. But as parents, these I statements work so well with your kiddos at home as well. Hey, I feel so happy when you take the trash out after I only asked you one time. It makes me, this means you're really paying attention to me when I ask you to do things.
Haydee,
Yes.
I'm going to interrupt you. We have 1 minute left.
Okay, perfect. Yep.
And I just wanted to pause and just see if any of the folks that have joined us for the session wanted to just ask like a last question before we have our 5 minutes break before we start the next session. So any of the folks that are in here as guests, do you have any questions? And you could type it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask these ladies your questions. Anyone? Okay, it was so much information, and I hope that some of the folks in here, parents that were in here, can take that and use it at home. I know we do use it at school, and it would be fabulous if home and school were on the same page, and our kids then would have that basis to work off of and have those strategies, and that everyone understands that. Do any of you four ladies want to have a closing comment before we let people leave the room? Down in the bottom right-hand corner, there should be a leave room, a blue leave room button that you could go back to the main session, and then you can choose a new room for the second session. So anyone?
I just wanted to say thank you for being here and listening to the strategies, and hopefully you were able to take some and you'll be able to use them at home with your students. That's the goal, really, is to have both home and school using these things, because it's just so helpful.
Yeah, I wanted to say the same thing. Thank you. And then also let you know that when you get this presentation, there's going to be a lot of resources here for you as well to click on and to help you implement some of these.